Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching the massive alien space station grow larger on the main screen. His hands gripped the command chair as he tried to control his excitement. This was it, the moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the stars. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the station," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her position at the communications panel. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. "Put it through," Jake ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English through their translation system. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Welcome to Galactic Council Station Harmony." Jake nodded to his crew. After months of traveling through space, they had finally reached their destination. The station was enormous, bigger than any human city. It looked like someone had built a metal world, with towers and spires reaching in all directions. Lights blinked along its surface like stars. Behind Jake, Ambassador Lisa Carter stepped forward. She was a tall woman in her 40s with short brown hair and kind eyes. She had spent years studying alien languages and cultures, preparing for this moment. "How are you feeling, Ambassador?" Jake asked. Lisa smoothed down her blue diplomatic uniform. "Nervous but ready. This could change everything for humanity." Dr. Kevin Walsh looked up from his science station. He was a thin man with glasses who always seemed excited about new discoveries. "The energy readings from that station are incredible. Their technology is at least 50 years ahead of ours. Maybe they'll share some of it," Amy said hopefully. Jake hoped so too. Humanity had been alone in space for so long. When they finally detected the signals from other civilizations, it felt like finding out they weren't orphans anymore. The Galactic Council had agreed to meet with them, and that had to be a good sign. The docking process took an hour. The alien station systems guided their ship into a bay that seemed designed for vessels much larger than the horizon. Jake felt small as they walked through the airlock into the station. The corridor beyond was huge. The ceiling stretched high above them, and the walls were made of some kind of smooth metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Other beings walked past them, and Jake tried not to stare. He saw tall, thin creatures with silver skin and large eyes. There were insect-like beings that clicked as they moved. Some looked like they were made of living crystal, their bodies reflecting the light in rainbow patterns. Others seemed to be pure energy floating in containment suits. "Stay together," Lisa whispered. "Remember, we're representing all of humanity." A robot approached them. It was sleek and silver, moving smoothly on legs that seemed too thin to support it. "Ambassador Carter, please follow me to the council chamber." They walked through corridors filled with wonders. Jake saw rooms with floating furniture, walls that showed moving pictures of distant worlds, and gardens where plants from different planets grew side by side. The air smelled clean but strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. The council chamber was the most impressive room Jake had ever seen. It was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up on all sides. In the center was a platform where Lisa would make humanity's presentation. The seats were filled with representatives from 12 different species. At the highest point sat a being that seemed to be made of living crystal. Its body shifted between different colors as it moved. This had to be Council Prime Zelthar, the leader of the Galactic Council. "Humans," Zelthar's voice echoed through the chamber. "You may approach." Lisa walked to the center platform with confidence. Jake, Kevin, and Amy took seats in a special section marked for the human delegation. Jake noticed that their section was lower than all the others, as if they were students being tested by teachers. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Lisa began, "I am Ambassador Lisa Carter, speaking for the people of Earth. We come before you with hope and friendship." She activated a holographic projector that showed images of Earth. Blue oceans, green continents, and white clouds rotating slowly in space. Then came pictures of human cities, art, music, and scientific achievements. "Humanity has reached for the stars since we first looked up at the night sky. We've explored our solar system, built space stations, and developed faster-than-light travel. We've created art that moves the soul, music that brings joy, and literature that explores the deepest questions of existence." Some of the council members leaned forward with interest. Others seemed bored. Jake couldn't read the expressions on alien faces, but body language was often universal. Lisa continued, "We don't come asking for charity or special treatment. We come offering partnership. Humanity has skills, knowledge, and perspectives that could benefit the entire galaxy. In return, we hope to learn from the wisdom and experience of the species represented here. She showed more images. Human doctors helping people, scientists making discoveries, engineers building amazing structures, and artists creating beautiful things. We've had wars, yes. We've made mistakes. But we've learned from them. We've grown beyond our violent past and united as one species with one goal, to take our place among the stars as friends and equals. When Lisa finished, the chamber fell silent. Jake held his breath, waiting for the Council's response. Council Prime Zelthar's crystal body shifted to a deep blue color. Your presentation is adequate. However, the Galactic Council has concerns about humanity's readiness for full membership. An insect-like being with a clicking voice spoke next. Your species is young and aggressive. You have not proven your stability over the long term. Another alien, this one looking like a floating jellyfish, added, your technology, while impressive for your age, is primitive compared to established galactic standards. Jake felt his heart sink. This wasn't going the way they had hoped. Zelthar raised a crystalline hand for silence. After much deliberation, the Galactic Council has reached a decision. Humanity will be granted provisional membership status. You will be assigned territories in the Outer Rim sector, where you may develop your civilization under our guidance. Lisa kept her face neutral, but Jake could see the disappointment in her eyes. The Outer Rim was the galaxy's frontier, far from the centers of trade and knowledge. It was basically exile dressed up as membership. We are grateful for this opportunity, Lisa said diplomatically. Your probationary period will last 50 standard years, Zelthar continued. During this time, human expansion will be limited to your assigned sector. Human vessels may not travel to core systems without express permission. Human technology development will be monitored to ensure compliance with galactic safety standards. Jake realized they weren't being welcomed into the galactic community. They were being put in a corner and told to stay there until the grown-ups decided they were ready to play with the other children. As they walked back to their ship, Lisa was quiet. Finally, Kevin spoke up. 50 years isn't that long in galactic terms, he said, trying to sound optimistic. It's a lifetime for us, Lisa replied. They're treating us like children who need supervision. Jake put a hand on her shoulder. We'll show them what humanity can do, even in the Outer Rim. But as their ship left the station behind, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the Galactic Council saw humanity as more than just primitive. They saw them as a potential threat that needed to be contained. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment much longer than anyone realized. And if they thought humans would quietly accept being treated as second-class citizens, they were about to learn how wrong they could be. Emma Watson floated through the corridors of Research Station New Horizon, her magnetic boots clicking softly against the metal floor. At 18, she had spent her entire life in space, moving from station to station as her father's work required. But this place felt different. This felt like home. The research station orbited a dead planet in humanity's assigned sector of the Outer Rim. It wasn't much to look at from the outside, just a collection of connected modules and solar panels. But inside, it buzzed with activity as 300 human civilians worked to unlock the secrets of their new corner of the galaxy. Emma's father, Chief Engineer Paul Watson, had designed most of the station's systems himself. He was a quiet man who preferred machines to people, but he had raised Emma to be curious about everything. She had inherited his love of discovery, but unlike him, she dreamed of meeting alien species and learning from them. Emma, are you ready for the morning briefing? Dr. Susan Torres called from the main laboratory. Susan was the station's head scientist, a woman in her 50s who had given up a comfortable job on Earth to explore the unknown. Coming? Emma replied, pushing off from the wall to glide toward the lab. The briefing room was packed with researchers, engineers, and survey pilots. On the main screen was a map of their assigned sector, dotted with unexplored star systems. Good morning, everyone, Susan began. Yesterday's survey mission to system Kepler 1649 brought back some interesting findings. She activated a holographic display that showed strange metal fragments. The pieces were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as Emma watched them. These artifacts were found floating in the asteroid belt. They're made of materials we've never seen before. The metal is stronger than anything in our databases, and it seems to generate its own energy. Emma leaned forward, fascinated. The symbols on the fragments looked almost alive, pulsing with soft light. More importantly, Susan continued, carbon dating suggests these artifacts are over 2 million years old. That makes them older than any known galactic civilization. A murmur went through the room. The Galactic Council claimed that civilization in the galaxy was only about 50,000 years old. Starting with the first council species, I want every department to analyze these fragments, Susan said. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. After the briefing, Emma volunteered to help with the analysis. She had studied xenobiology and archaeology in her spare time, preparing for the day when humanity would encounter ancient alien cultures. For 3 days, she worked with the artifacts in the station's secure laboratory. The metal fragments seemed to respond to her touch, growing warmer and brighter. The symbols became clearer, forming patterns that almost looked like a language. On the 4th day, Emma made a breakthrough. Using the station's computer systems, she managed to translate some of the symbols. What she found made her hands shake with excitement. The fragments weren't just random debris. They were pieces of a data core, a kind of alien hard drive, and the information stored inside was incredible. Emma discovered star charts showing the entire galaxy as it existed 2 million years ago. There were records of a species called the Ancestors, who had built a vast civilization spanning thousands of worlds. They had technology that made the current Galactic Council look primitive. But the most shocking discovery was what had happened to the Ancestors. According to the data, they hadn't died out or disappeared. They had simply chosen to leave this galaxy behind, traveling to distant places beyond the known universe. Before they left, they had hidden caches of their technology throughout the galaxy for future species to find. Emma realized she had found evidence of the true history of galactic civilization. The Galactic Council wasn't the first advanced species in the galaxy. They were just the ones who had found enough ancestor technology to rule over everyone else. She knew this information was too important to keep secret. Following proper scientific protocol, Emma prepared a detailed report of her findings. She included images of the artifacts, translations of the symbols, and her conclusions about what they meant. Then she made a decision that would change everything. Instead of just sending the report to Earth, she transmitted it to the nearest alien monitoring station. It belonged to the Vorthak, one of the insect species from the Galactic Council. Emma believed that such an important discovery should be shared with all intelligent species. The Vorthak monitoring station received Emma's transmission at 14:32 station time. Within minutes, the alien operators realized what they were looking at. The report was immediately forwarded to the Vorthak homeworld, then to the Galactic Council headquarters. In the council chambers, emergency alarms began to sound. Council Prime Zelthar read Emma's report with growing alarm. The crystalline being's body shifted through angry shades of red and orange. This cannot be allowed, Zelthar declared to the assembled council members. If this information spreads, it will destroy everything we have built. The truth was that the Galactic Council had built their entire civilization on ancestor technology. They had found the hidden caches long ago and used them to dominate other species. The Council's advanced weapons, faster-than-light travel, and energy systems all came from the Ancestors. But they had told everyone that they had developed this technology themselves. Their entire claim to leadership rested on the lie that they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. The human girl must be silenced, said the Vorthak representative, clicking its mandibles nervously, and all evidence of her discovery must be destroyed. Agreed, Zelthar said. Deploy Battle Group 7 immediately. Back on New Horizon, Emma was excited about the response her report would generate. She imagined alien scientists working alongside human researchers to unlock more ancestor secrets. Maybe this discovery would finally prove that humanity deserved full membership in the Galactic Council. Her father found her in the lab, still working with the artifacts. Emma, you should get some rest. You've been at this for hours. I can't sleep, Dad. This is too important. We found proof that there was an advanced civilization in the galaxy, millions of years before the Council species evolved. Think about what this means for our understanding of galactic history. Paul Watson smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm. Just remember to eat something. Discovery doesn't count for much if the discoverer starves to death. Emma laughed and hugged her father. I will. I just want to run a few more tests first. That night, as Emma worked alone in the lab, the station's long-range sensors detected 3 ships approaching. They were moving fast and using stealth technology, but the station's sensors were good enough to spot them. Lieutenant Commander Roy Allen, the station's security chief, contacted the approaching vessels. Unknown ships, this is New Horizon Research Station. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The response came in the form of weapons fire. 3 Vorthak battlecruisers decloaked and opened fire on the research station without warning. The station's shields held for the first few minutes, but they weren't designed for combat. The research facility had been built for exploration, not war. Emma felt the station shake around her as the alien weapons tore through the hull. Emergency lights flashed red and the computer announced hull breaches in multiple sections. Paul Watson rushed to the lab to find his daughter. Emma, we have to get to the escape pods. The station is breaking apart. The artifacts, Emma protested. We can't lose them. We can't lose you, her father replied firmly. As they ran through corridors filled with smoke and sparks, Emma realized what was happening. The aliens weren't here by accident. They were here because of her discovery. Someone didn't want the truth about the ancestors to be known. The station's communication system still worked, and Emma made a desperate decision. She activated the emergency broadcast system and began recording a message. This is Emma Watson aboard Research Station New Horizon. We are under attack by Galactic Council forces. They're destroying us because we found evidence of an ancient civilization that predates the Council by millions of years. The Council has been lying about the origins of their technology. They built their empire on stolen knowledge. The station shuddered as another explosion tore through the hull. Emma could hear the sound of metal tearing and air rushing out into space. Tell Earth what we discovered, she continued. The ancestors were real and they left their technology for all species to find. The Council doesn't want anyone to know the truth because it would destroy their power. A final blast from the Vorthak ships tore through the section where Emma and her father were trapped. The last thing Emma saw was her father trying to shield her from the explosion. The message transmitted to Earth just as the laboratory section broke away from the rest of the station. Emma Watson died believing that her discovery would help humanity find its rightful place among the stars. She never knew that her death would unleash something the Galactic Council never expected. Of the 300 people aboard New Horizon, only 47 survived in the escape pods. They were rescued by a human patrol ship 3 days later. The galaxy was about to learn that killing an innocent human girl was the worst mistake the Galactic Council had ever made. President Helen Brooks sat in the secure briefing room deep beneath the White House, her face pale as she watched Emma Watson's final message for the 3rd time. Around the oval table sat the most powerful leaders on Earth, but none of them spoke. The silence was heavy with grief and rage. How many survivors? Helen asked quietly. General Mark Davis, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, answered in a grim voice. 47 out of 300. The rest died when the station broke apart. Emma Watson was among the casualties. She was just 18 years old, whispered Dr. Catherine Lee, the Secretary of Science and Technology, a civilian researcher who wanted to share knowledge with alien species. Helen closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Show me the other files. Admiral Sam Mitchell stood up from her seat at the far end of the table. She was a stern woman in her 60s with gray hair and cold blue eyes. For 30 years she had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. Madam President, what you're about to see is classified at the highest levels. Only 12 people on Earth know the complete truth about Project Phantom Fleet. Helen nodded. She had been briefed about some kind of secret military program when she became president, but the details had been kept from her until now. Admiral Mitchell activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. What appeared made everyone gasp, even those who thought they knew all of Earth's secrets. The display showed a 3-dimensional map of the solar system, but it wasn't the solar system they thought they knew. Hidden among the asteroids tucked behind planets, and floating in the dark spaces between worlds were thousands of objects that official records claimed didn't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the true Earth Defense Force, Admiral Mitchell said. 2,347 vessels of war, built over the past 50 years using technology that makes the Galactic Council's weapons look like stone axes. General Davis stared at the display. How is this possible? The military budget doesn't account for anything like this. Because it's not in the military budget, Helen realized. The black projects, the ones I'm not allowed to ask about. Admiral Mitchell nodded. Every failed space mission, Every lost probe, every research station that officially doesn't exist. They were all part of building the Phantom Fleet. She changed the display to show detailed schematics of the hidden ships. They were beautiful and terrifying, sleek vessels that looked nothing like human technology. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, and their weapon systems glowed with strange energy. "How do we have technology this advanced?" asked Dr. Lee, her scientific mind racing. Dr. Richard Hayes stepped forward from where he had been standing quietly in the corner. He was a thin man with wild hair who looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. 50 years ago, a mining operation in Antarctica found something buried under 2 miles of ice, he explained. A cache of technology left by the same species Emma Watson discovered. The ancestors. He activated another display showing strange artifacts covered in the same shifting symbols Emma had found. But these were intact, their alien technology still functional after millions of years. "We've been reverse engineering their technology ever since," Dr. Hayes continued. "Faster than light drives that don't need the fuel the Council uses. Weapons that can phase through any known shield. Cloaking systems that make ships completely invisible to sensors." Admiral Mitchell took over the presentation. "The Phantom Fleet isn't just hidden from the Galactic Council. It's hidden from most of humanity. The crews are volunteers who officially don't exist. The ships are built in automated factories in deep space." She showed images of massive construction facilities floating in the dark between stars. Robotic systems worked constantly, building new ships using ancestor designs that human engineers had spent decades learning to understand. "Why keep it secret from our own people?" Helen asked. "Because we knew this day would come," Admiral Mitchell replied. "We knew that eventually the galaxy would show its true face. Emma Watson's discovery proves we were right. The Galactic Council built their empire on stolen ancestor technology, just like we did. The difference is that we were honest with ourselves about it." General Davis studied the fleet specifications with growing amazement. "These ships are incredible. Why haven't we used them before now?" "Because we hoped we wouldn't need to," Helen said, understanding at last. "We wanted to join the galactic community peacefully, but they've made that impossible." Admiral Mitchell's expression hardened. The Council made a fatal mistake when they murdered civilians to hide their lies. They think humanity is a primitive species that needs to be controlled. It's time they learned the truth. Dr. Hayes pulled up another display, this one showing Emma Watson's translated ancestor texts. "The girl's discovery confirms what we suspected. The ancestors left their technology specifically for younger species to find. It was meant to be shared, to help new civilizations grow and prosper. Instead, the Council hoarded it to maintain power," Helen said angrily. "They've been holding back galactic progress for thousands of years." Admiral Mitchell walked around the table, her eyes meeting each person's gaze. "The Phantom Fleet is ready for deployment. We have ships stationed throughout the galaxy, all invisible to Council sensors. We can strike anywhere, anytime without warning." "What exactly are you proposing?" Helen asked, though she already knew the answer. "Operation Revelation," Admiral Mitchell replied. "We show the galaxy who humanity really is. We expose the Council's crimes and their lies, and we make it clear that the age of their dominance is over." She activated a final display showing Council military positions throughout the galaxy. Red markers appeared over every major fleet, every stronghold, every center of power. "We can disable their entire military in less than 72 hours, she explained. "Not destroy it, disable it. We're not monsters like they are. But we will remove their ability to threaten innocent people ever again." Helen stood up from her chair, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Every decision she made in the next few minutes would affect not just Earth but the entire galaxy. "Admiral, how certain are you that this will work?" "Madam President, the Phantom Fleet has technology that's centuries ahead of anything the Council possesses. Our ships can phase through their shields, move faster than their sensors can track, and strike with precision they can't defend against. The only question is whether we have the will to use our advantage." Helen thought about Emma Watson, an 18-year-old girl who had died for the crime of wanting to share knowledge. She thought about the hundreds of other civilians murdered to protect the Council's lies. "The Council believes that might makes right," Helen said finally. "Let's show them what real might looks like when it serves justice instead of oppression." She turned to Admiral Mitchell. "You have authorization for Operation Revelation. But remember, we're not conquerors. We're liberators. The goal is to free the galaxy from tyranny, not to replace one dictatorship with another." Admiral Mitchell saluted. Understood, Madam President. The Phantom Fleet will launch within the hour. As the meeting broke up, Helen remained in her chair, staring at the holographic display of Earth's hidden fleet. In a few hours, the galaxy would discover that humanity was not the weak, primitive species the Council believed them to be. Emma Watson's death would not be in vain. Her discovery had already changed everything, and now her sacrifice would reshape the galaxy forever. The age of the Galactic Council was about to end, and the age of true galactic freedom was about to begin. Council Prime Zelthar stood in the great chamber of Dominion Prime, the Council's most protected world. The crystalline being's body glowed with satisfaction as it addressed the gathered representatives of the 12 ruling species. Around them, the massive fortress world hummed with the energy of 1,000 defensive systems. The human problem has been solved, Zelthar announced, its voice echoing through the chamber. The research station that discovered the ancestor artifacts has been destroyed. All evidence of their findings has been eliminated. The Vorthak representative clicked its mandibles in agreement. Commander Vorthak Prime reports complete success. The facility was destroyed with no survivors who possessed knowledge of the discovery. This was a lie, but the Council believed it. They had no idea that 47 humans had escaped, or that Emma Watson's final message had reached Earth. Excellent, said the Ethereal Syndicate delegate, its energy form flickering inside its containment suit. The younger species must never learn the truth about the ancestors. Our authority depends on their belief that we are naturally superior. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council had maintained power through this deception. They possessed advanced technology not because they were more intelligent or evolved, but because they had found the largest caches of ancestor artifacts. Every Council species had built their civilization on stolen knowledge. What of the humans in general? Asked a delegate from the crystalline hegemony. They are contained in the outer rim, but they continue to expand and explore. Zelthar's body shifted to a deeper blue. Humanity will remain under observation. If they discover more ancestor sites, we will deal with them as we dealt with the research station. The Council chamber fell silent as the delegates contemplated their success. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they couldn't imagine any threat to their power. In their minds, they had just eliminated a minor problem before it could grow serious. That was when the alarms began to sound. Deep beneath Dominion Prime, in the most secure sensor facility in the galaxy, technicians stared at their screens in disbelief. Impossible readings were appearing throughout Council space. Ships were materializing where no ships should exist. Chief Sensor Operator Keltar, a four-armed being from the Nexus Consortium, frantically checked his instruments. This cannot be correct. The displays show thousands of vessels appearing simultaneously across 17 star systems. His supervisor, a floating gas bag creature from the Atmospheric Alliance, drifted over to examine the readings. Run a full diagnostic. These readings are impossible. But the diagnostics confirmed what their sensors were telling them. Across the galaxy, unknown vessels were decloaking in orbit around every major Council world. Ships unlike anything in their databases were taking positions above their most protected planets. In the Council chamber, Zelthar received the emergency report with growing alarm. The crystalline being's body flashed through angry reds and oranges as it processed the information. "How many ships?" Zelthar demanded. "Over 2,000 confirmed," the messenger replied, its voice shaking. "They appear to be using technology that our sensors cannot fully analyze." The ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space. Before Zelthar could respond, every communication system in the chamber activated at once. A human voice filled the air, speaking in a tone that was calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral Sam Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force. For too long, you have ruled this galaxy through deception and violence. Today, that ends." The Council delegates looked around in panic. How was a human speaking directly to them in their most secure facility? Above Dominion Prime's atmosphere, the UES Vengeance decloaked. The ship was enormous, bigger than any vessel in the Council's fleet. Its hull seemed to absorb light, making it appear like a hole in space shaped like a warship. Weapons that glowed with ancestor energy powered up along its sides. Admiral Mitchell stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the Council world grow larger on her screens. Around her, officers who had trained in secret for decades carried out their duties with quiet efficiency. "Communications. Broadcast our message on all frequencies," she ordered. Lieutenant Commander Beth Parker, the fleet's communications officer, activated the galaxy-wide network. Every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in the galaxy would hear what came next. "Citizens of the galaxy," Admiral Mitchell began, "you have been lied to for thousands of years. The Galactic Council claims to rule because of their natural superiority. This is false. They rule because they found and hoarded technology left by an ancient species called the Ancestors. On worlds throughout the galaxy, billions of beings stopped what they were doing to listen to the humans' words. 3 days ago, the Council murdered 300 innocent human civilians, including 18-year-old Emma Watson. Her crime was discovering evidence of the Ancestors and wanting to share that knowledge with all species." Admiral Mitchell paused, letting that sink in. "The Council destroys anyone who threatens their monopoly on advanced technology. They have held back galactic progress for millennia to maintain their power." In the Council chamber, Zelthar raged. "Deploy all fleets! Destroy these human ships immediately!" But as Council forces tried to respond, they discovered the true scope of their problem. Human ships were everywhere and they moved like ghosts. Council weapons couldn't lock onto targets that phased in and out of normal space. Captain Ryan Torres commanded the stealth destroyer, UES Shadow Strike, as it approached the Vorthak fleet responsible for destroying New Horizon. His ship was smaller than the alien vessels, but it carried weapons that made size irrelevant. "Target the fleet commander's ship," Ryan ordered. "Phase weapons only. Disable their systems, but don't destroy the vessel." The Shadow Strike's weapons passed through the Vorthak ship's shields as if they didn't exist. The alien vessel's weapon systems overloaded and shut down. Its life support flickered but remained functional. The crew was alive but helpless. "This is for Emma Watson," Ryan whispered. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as the Phantom Fleet revealed itself. Human ships appeared without warning, disabled Council vessels with surgical precision, then vanished before retaliation was possible. The Council's mighty fleets, built with stolen ancestor technology, proved useless against ships that used the same technology but understood it better. On Dominion Prime, Zelthar watched in horror as reports flooded in from across Council space. Every major fleet was being systematically dismantled. Their most powerful weapons couldn't even target the human ships. How is this possible? The crystalline being demanded. Humans are primitive. They barely achieved faster than light travel. Admiral Mitchell's voice answered as if she could hear the question. "You underestimated humanity because you chose to see us as inferior. You forgot that the Ancestors left their gifts for all species to find. The difference is that we learned to use those gifts to protect the innocent, not to oppress them." On the bridge of the Vengeance, Tactical Officer Commander Jason Riley reported the fleet's progress. "Admiral, 60% of Council military assets have been disabled. Enemy resistance is minimal. Continue the operation," Admiral Mitchell ordered. "But remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate." Throughout the galaxy, the broadcast continued. Lieutenant Commander Parker transmitted Emma Watson's research data, showing proof of the Ancestors and the Council's deception. She sent recordings of the attack on New Horizon, letting every species see the Council's willingness to murder innocents. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had lived under Council rule for generations began to understand that they had been slaves to a lie. The technology that made their rulers seem godlike had been stolen from a species that intended it to be shared. In the deepest bunkers of Dominion Prime, Council emergency protocols activated. But even their most secure facilities couldn't hide from ships that could phase through solid matter. Human Marines materialized inside the bunkers, their powered armor incorporating ancestor technology that made them nearly invincible, but they didn't come to kill. They came to arrest war criminals. "Council Prime Zelthar," announced Captain Lisa Chang as she entered the Council chamber with her squad. "You are under arrest for crimes against galactic civilization." The crystalline being's body flashed through every color of rage. "You cannot do this. We are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. You are thieves and murderers," Captain Chang replied calmly. "And your time is over." As Council leaders were taken into custody across the galaxy, Admiral Mitchell prepared for the final phase of Operation Revelation. The military conquest was complete. Now came the harder task of building something better. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology. It was their belief that all intelligent beings deserved freedom, dignity, and the chance to reach for the stars. 3 days after the Phantom Fleet's attack, silence filled the galaxy. The mighty Galactic Council had been reduced to prisoners in their own cells. Their fleets drifted powerless in space. Their weapons were disabled. Their communications were cut. On every inhabited world, billions of beings waited to see what would happen next. Some feared that humanity would become new tyrants, replacing one oppressor with another. Others hoped that the humans meant what they said about freedom and cooperation. President Helen Brooks stood in the cargo bay of the diplomatic vessel UES New Horizon, named to honor Emma Watson and the other victims. Through the transparent hull, she could see Dominion Prime growing larger as they approached. The fortress world looked different now, its weapons dark and its defensive shields down. "Nervous, Madam President?" asked Admiral Mitchell, who stood beside her in full dress uniform. "Terrified," Helen admitted. "It's easy to tear down a corrupt system. Building something better is much harder." Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral after his role in the first diplomatic mission, joined them at the viewing window. "The former Council species are requesting individual meetings. They want to negotiate surrender terms." Helen shook her head. "No surrender terms. No punishment beyond removing their ability to harm others. We're not here to rule over them. We're here to offer them something they've never had before, the chance to be equals." The UES New Horizon docked at Dominion Prime's main port, the same bay where the UES Horizon had arrived months earlier for humanity's first diplomatic contact. But everything had changed since then. Helen walked through corridors that had once been designed to intimidate visitors. Now they seemed empty and sad, like the halls of a school after all the students had gone home. The great council chamber had been transformed. The high seats that had looked down on lesser species were gone. In their place was a circular table where every chair sat at the same level. Representatives from dozens of species were already seated, waiting to hear what humanity had planned for the galaxy. Helen took her place at the table, but she didn't sit in a special chair or elevated position. She sat in the same kind of seat as everyone else. "Friends," she began, using a word that had never been spoken in this chamber before. "We are here to discuss the future of our galaxy. But first, let me be clear about something. Earth does not wish to rule over you. We wish to work with you." A Zeltharian representative, its crystal body flickering with nervous energy, spoke up. "What guarantee do we have that you won't treat us as the Council treated others?" Helen smiled sadly. "The same guarantee you had from the Council. None. The only difference is that we're giving you the choice to leave if you don't, like what we build together." She activated a holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. Every star system, every inhabited world, every space lane was visible. The Galactic Council claimed to own this galaxy. They divided it up among themselves and told everyone else where they could and couldn't go. "We reject that entirely." Helen highlighted dozens of star systems throughout the galaxy. "These are the locations where we found ancestor technology caches. For thousands of years, the Council kept these sites secret and claimed the technology for themselves." The display changed to show the caches being opened, their contents studied by mixed teams of scientists from different species. As of today, every ancestor site is open to all species. The knowledge belongs to everyone, not just to those with the biggest fleets. Dr. Richard Hayes stepped forward to address the assembly. His wild hair had been tamed for the occasion, but his eyes still held the excitement of a scientist sharing a great discovery. "The ancestors left us more than just technology," he explained. "They left us instructions, guidelines for how advanced civilizations should treat each other and explore the universe together." He showed images from recently translated ancestor texts. The symbols Emma Watson had died trying to understand now revealed their full meaning. The ancestors believed that diversity makes civilization stronger. They thought different species working together could achieve more than any single species working alone. A Vorthak representative clicked its mandibles nervously. "What of those who participated in the old system? What punishment awaits us?" Admiral Mitchell stood up to answer. "The individuals who ordered attacks on civilians will face trial, but entire species will not be punished for the actions of their leaders." She gestured to the chamber around them. "This building will become a memorial to those who died under Council rule. But it will also become a school where young beings from all species can learn to work together." Helen activated another display, this one showing plans for a new kind of galactic government. "We propose a galactic federation based on cooperation rather than domination. Every species gets an equal voice, regardless of their technology level or military strength. The plans showed a democratic system where decisions were made by consensus rather than force. Trade routes would be open to all. Technology would be shared freely. Conflicts would be resolved through negotiation and compromise. But membership is voluntary, Helen emphasized. Any species that prefers isolation is free to choose that path. We won't force anyone to join. Over the following hours, representatives from dozens of species asked questions and raised concerns. Some were suspicious of humanity's motives. Others worried about how the new system would work in practice. The ethereal syndicate delegate was particularly skeptical. Your species defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy in 3 days. Why should we believe you won't use that power to force your will on us? Helen looked directly at the energy being floating in its containment suit. Because we've already proven it. We could have destroyed every council fleet, but we disabled them instead. We could have executed every council leader, but we arrested them for trial. We could have taken control of your worlds, but we're asking you to choose your own path. She stood up and walked to the center of the chamber. Emma Watson died because she believed that knowledge should be shared, that different species could work together, and that the universe was big enough for everyone to find their place. Her voice carried the weight of grief and determination. If we dishonor her memory by becoming the very thing we fought against, then her death will have been meaningless. We won't let that happen. One by one, species representatives began to speak in favor of the new system. The Zeltharians, despite their former pride, admitted that cooperation offered benefits their old isolation had never provided. The Vorthek acknowledged that their hive mind, efficiency could help coordinate joint projects between species, even some of the smaller species who had never been allowed to speak in the old council chamber found their voices. They shared ideas for exploration missions, scientific research, and cultural exchanges that the old system had never permitted. As the day progressed, the framework for the Galactic Federation took shape. It wouldn't be perfect, and there would be problems to solve. But it would be built on principles that Emma Watson would have approved of: curiosity, cooperation, and respect for all intelligent life. Admiral Jake Morrison announced the first joint mission of the new Federation. A scientific expedition to explore a distant galaxy, using combined ancestor technology and knowledge from multiple species. The expedition would be led by mixed crews representing dozens of civilizations. We'll name the flagship the UES Emma Watson, he said, so that her dream of peaceful exploration can live on among the stars. As the assembly ended, Helen stood alone in the chamber for a moment. Through the transparent dome above, she could see stars scattered across the galaxy like diamonds. Each one represented countless worlds where beings would now have the chance to reach for something better than what came before. Paul Watson, Emma's father, had been present for the assembly via holographic link from Earth. Before he signed off, he spoke to Helen privately. She would have been proud of what happened here today, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Emma always believed that understanding each other was more important than being stronger than each other. Helen nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. We'll make sure her belief becomes reality, Paul. The galaxy she dreamed of is finally possible. As the UES New Horizon prepared to depart Dominion Prime, Helen looked back at the fortress world one last time. It no longer looked like a symbol of oppression. It looked like what it was becoming, a place where different species could meet as equals to solve problems together. The memorial to Emma Watson would be built where the old council throne had stood. Not as a symbol of human victory, but as a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of courage and curiosity can change the entire universe. The galaxy Emma Watson had died trying to create was finally being born among the stars she had loved so much.